You missed it. I don't know if you're watching live CNBC over there or not, but some sort of fight broke out in Spirit Airlines. Anyways, um, back in May of 2016, big crash when it reported earnings. Again, when it reported in August of 2016, the stock gap down. Again, when it reported in November of last year, stock gap down. Once again, when it reported in February of 2017, this time was a huge gap down. This was a 30% sell-off from 150 some level all the way down, smack down to 115. Massive, massive gap down. What the hell is going on with Palo Alto Network? Well, once again, two reasons actually, essentially really two reasons. So what happened was that the Palo Alto Networks, the actual market that it addresses is firewall. You know, within the cybersecurity, there are a lot of layers, a lot of different types of vendors within the cybersecurity theme. Within that theme, the particular market where Palo Alto Network is the leader is firewall. And what happened was that firewall basically exhausted their previous product in the firewall category way back in early 2016, and basically they were sort of absent from having any new product available to continue to improve the cloud network security, particularly in the firewall. And so they went through a phase of a basically a big gap between the product cycles. And that's one of the reasons that basically deteriorated some of the sales expectations. The second thing that happened, which was one of the bigger reasons that were cited for this big gap down and lowered expectations, was because the company reorganized and reshuffled its entire sales team. So basically, people were moved from one department to another, and the entire sales team was reorganized with personnel moving from one place to another, and that caused basically hectic environment on the sales side, and which the investors didn't want to see. So that was a bit of a shocker. All right, both of those things should now be corrected in my view. The most important which of in my view is basically the product cycle, and I believe we're about to embark on a new product cycle on the firewall side. Once again, just to start off from this picture right here that I showed under cyber, firewall spending, the IT survey shows the firewall spending basically increased by 700 basis points from this survey to this survey. Keeping that in mind, here is a view that comes from Stifel Nicholas, a different analyst. This was after Stifel conducted its own survey back in on April 17. Okay, I think it was actual date was April 15 or something, but this was their own survey. So just like Bank of America did, these guys did it themselves. And in this survey, they did the quarterly survey of 25 security-focused value-added resellers to understand basically what's happening in the spending environment. And they came out with a comment: 68% of respondents experienced a year-over-year increase in their security business in first quarter of 2017. This is important because Bank of America came out with its own survey and found exactly the same thing, except Bank of America said, no, it's 75% of respondents saw an increase, and the Stifel said 68% of respondents saw an increase. Inside this note, if you dive deep, you're going to find out, basically, and it goes on to show right here, following shaky results from Palo Alto Network last quarter, investors have been wondering whether the company's misexecution was an isolated issue or a sign of broader problems within the cybersecurity landscape. Based on the results of our survey, as well as positive early results from likes of Rapid7, all right, we tend to see Palo Alto Q2 missteps as more of an isolated issue. So basically, they're not highlighting this as a sector-wide issue. And then it goes the most key over here. Evidence from our survey suggests that while Palo Alto remains very much in the midst of an ongoing Salesforce transition, early signs from the company's recently released new products, the 5200 series, are generally increasing. That 5200 series is the new firewall product that is coming. To show this, here is another comment, and this comes from Bank of America. Bank of America talked about exactly the same thing. This was also in April. Expect rebound following execution improvements. A lot of comments mentioned over here, and here is the last comment right here is the key. The new 5200 series high-end firewall should drive a refresh cycle for some data centers, which represents 40% of the total business. And the new virtual firewalls broaden the offerings for MSSP, a new growth vertical for the company. So again, the key over here is firewall. IT spending is improving on firewall. The company did not have a good product last time. Now they do have a good product this time. There were some sales execution issues last time with a lot of shuffling of personnel. They should not have those sales execution going forward. Both the channel checks from Bank of America and Stifel are pointing to the upside. Why not? I think it's worth a shot with sentiment absolutely washed out, completely washed out. All right. And so, by the way, Palo Alto Network is trading at 4 times. Its enterprise value is 4 times sales. That is the lowest among all peers. That is the lowest among software vendors or cybersecurity vendors, no matter how you dice it. It is actually quite low. It's the lowest in the company's history. So that's how bad the sentiment is, in my view, going into Palo Alto Network. And so all of those things. There's a bunch of other points that were made over here too. For example, the one that's another one that's mentioning is we also know that customer acquisitions have remained solid with 3,500 new customers added in the first half of 2017, up 26% year over year. And here's the key. While average selling prices continue to rise. Remember, CyberArk view is exactly the same thing too. After meeting with management, they're not seeing any pressure on average selling prices. Margins are stable. Palo Alto Network is seeing the same thing. However, at the start of the year, the entire street was concerned about this very particular issue. Again, I see that as a disconnect in the story that should bode well for both Palo Alto Network as well as the cybersecurity, as well as the CyberArk software. Here's the one thing I just wanted to show real quick. Where did that go? Here is the file from Bank of America. This is the April 17th survey that they did. This is the IT spend survey. It's a very big file, and it goes basically to talk about how the IT spending has been. I'll pass this around in just a moment. All right, but this is where a lot of the takeaways are coming from. And so the last thing I will show you is basically, if you go to the option chain in Palo Alto Network, you're going to see, let's see, where did it go? You're going to see in Palo Alto Network, I pulled that earlier, May 15. This is the short term right here. See this? May 15 call open interest, 2566 right here. Let's drill this down. Let's open this up. Let's go over here and see what happened. And you're going to see that, we get rid of one of these two, this theoretical price section we don't need. The blue line is the open interest. This is April 25th. That's when these call buyers showed up. This is April 26th, and this is April 27th. 3 days in a row. This was 2 weeks ago, basically, April 25th, 26th, and 27th. That's when they started buying these call options. Previously, they were buying them in early April as well, but more recently, in late April, they started buying these May 115 calls. To show you what the snapshot looks like from Livewall, this is a picture. As you can see, this is from April 25th. I'm scanning only 20 plus lot sizes. May 15, May 15. All of them were bought at 1035. Bulk of them were bought at 1035 that day on April 25th. They were buying it for $1.50, which was above the offer price when the bid and ask was $1.25 to $1.55. All right, and so that's what's reflected in the open interest right here in May 15. These calls have drastically moved higher, by the way. I mean, they were buying it for $1.50, and now these calls are going for $4. So they have moved higher, but I don't think it's done yet. More importantly, if you scroll to the June month, you're going to see that there's this large open interest. There's this 10,000 open interest in June month. Let's scan that, and you'll see right here, this big spike in volume in the June 120 calls took place also on April 25th. It's all very interesting because remember, this survey that I'm talking about right here, cybersecurity survey from Bank of America, that happened on April 17, right? And this survey from Stifel, in which they talk about cybersecurity, right here, a look into Cuban cybersecurity, and they talked about this Palo Alto. That survey happened on April 15, on April 17. So April 17, both of these analysts, Stifel and Bank of America, conducted this survey, and UBS file came on April 25th. So three different analysts around the same time within 1 week of each other. And that's exactly when the call buying picked up. Within a few days of that, call buying picked up in both cyber and Palo Alto Network. Anyways, looking at Palo Alto Network June 120 call open interest, you're going to see there was a massive spike right here on April 25th. And those calls were also bought. I'm just pulling it up on my other screen. Give me 1 second, and I will tell you what happened there. Give me 1 second. April 25th. And we're looking at June 120 calls. June 120 calls. There you go. And here is the snapshot of that. You can see this is April 25th, Palo Alto Network, June 120 calls. And you can see at 11:47 that day, a big block of 5,892 contracts, plus a whole bunch of small ones. It went off at $2.90 offer when the bid and ask was $260 and $290. So you can do the math around it. This was approximately $1.7 million bet. Okay. So this was more than $1.5 million straight up, more than $1.5 million bullish bet, and that is reflected right here. Majority of this in this open interest in June 120 call open interest. Going back to the chart a little bit, real quick, there's a massive gap. So if you're looking to look technicals over here, I think as it starts to break out, there's a first target that you're going to have on this is going to be this thick volume of price resistance that comes into play, and that's way up there, all the way out to 128 level. So with stock at 117, that's $11 to upside to go from here to 128. If it can clear this volume of price resistance right here, then it might as well go all the way and fill this gap entirely. It's going to face some more resistance around 140. If it can clear that too, then all the way to 150. So we have to see what kind of earnings reports come out. But basically, generally the setup is that, you know what, there's plenty of grounds to cover to the upside if this thing really starts to move. All right. So what is the play over here? Earnings are on May 30th. So we got some time on May 31st, actually. That's the last day of May. So we got plenty of time from here to here. All right. And so what I would like to do is I would like to position in this using straight June 125 calls. Buy straight June 125 calls for $3.40 or less. The bid and ask right now is $3.30 to $3.40. I'd like to buy straight June 125 calls for $3.40 or less. That's the play. Stock is at 117. I understand these are $7 out of money calls with June 125 strike. But if this thing gets going, there's a lot of ground to cover over here, and we have no idea which way it's going to go if the sentiment starts to shift. So, and it already gapped down 4 times in each of the last 4 quarters, and it's trading at 4 times. Enterprise value is 4 times sales, so it's a pretty cheap stock. So this thing starts to move. We have no idea where it will go on improving sentiment. So I like buying straight June 125 calls for $3.40 or less. All right, so that would be my play in Palo Alto Network. All right, Avo, take it from here. And meanwhile, I'm going to drop some of these files here so you can have them.
Okay, thanks, Fahad. Okay, well, here's the first fast question. The Trex